Știu.
Știu. Știu.
Salut, sunteți la ZFLive, sunt Cristian Hoțiuc și astăzi vom vorbi despre cum pot companiile românești din domeniul IT, dar nu numai, să pătrundă pe piața americană, iar în a doua parte a emisiunii o discuție despre ce înseamnă pentru piață și economie adoptarea semnăturii electronice și ce se întâmplă pe piața IT de la noi. Înainte să vorbim cu primul invitat de astăzi, ziarul financiar de astăzi, îl vedeți aici, îl vedeți imediat pe ecran. Ieri am încheiat ZF Bankers Asigurări Summit 2024 cu ziua asigurărilor. Costul lipsei de asigurare este mai mare decât costul de asigurare. Ținta pentru o piață asigurărilor de 10 miliarde de dolari a trebuit dublată pentru a putea vorbi de o protecție cât de cât reală în România. Internațional, Alexander din Arad, un dintre cei mai mari transportatori de marfă din România, dacă nu chiar cea mai mare, spune 20% din business vine de pe piețele externe. Suntem prezenți în Ungaria, Serbia, Germania și China. Cea mai mare companie din România, respectiv Petrom, devine cel mai puternic investitor în energia verde. OMV Petrom crește de 2,5 ori ținta pe regenerabile și de 10 ori pe partea de mobilitate electrică. Trecem la bursă. La final de iunie vin ultimele plăți de dividende unde se vor duce banii. Banca Transilvania și Hidroelectrica plătesc pe 26 și 28 iunie de săptămâna viitoare dividende de 1 miliard de lei în cazul Băncii Transilvania și 6,2 miliarde de lei în cazul Hidroelectrica. Trecem la prima discuție de astăzi. Alături de mine este Bogdan CAPATINA, președintele RACC IT și senior director responsabil de cloud și database system la Ford Motor Corporation în Michigan, în Statele Unite. Subiectul fiind cum pot companiile românești de IT să pătrundă pe piața americană. Bogdan, mulțumesc frumos că ești alături de mine la ZFLive. Înainte să vorbim, vom vorbi în engleză, română.
Fantastic.
Cine ești tu?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity. I am, you mentioned a senior director. I've been with Ford Motor Company now a little bit over 30 years. And my responsibilities at Ford, together with a larger team, is to define and implement our data and information strategy.
For all the world?
For the entire world. We are a very large company. We do about 38 to 40 billion dollars of sales a quarter, so you can do the math in terms of how much we do a year. We produce several million vehicles worldwide annually, so IT and data is critical to our company.
Are you also responsible for Ford Craiova?
We don't. No. Let me explain. The answer is yes and no. We don't look at individual countries. We look at things synergistically across the entire globe. So the short answer is yes. Ford Craiova and all our installations worldwide are part of the larger ecosystem at Ford. So whatever we we refer to this as the Ford production system. It's something that applies across the entire spectrum. We don't make individual exceptions by country and whatnot. So the short answer is yes, but we look at Ford Craiova and all our plants and installations globally as one single unit.
You graduate here in Romania, and when you left Romania?
So I left Romania in 1991.
Why?
Variety of reasons, but I think it was, deci eu am terminat facultatea de automatică soft la Politehnică.
Una dintre cele mai grele și mai performante facultăți
It was,
din România.
thank you for reminding me, and și înainte, deci pe vremea era liceul Nicolae Bălcescu, Sfântul Sava, education was real important, and I think our generation at that time looked towards the West and towards the U.S. as an opportunity to not just broaden our education, but potentially, given the pace of IT at that time, it was a great opportunity to start a new career.
If you look at what happened here in Romania in, let's say, 30, 40 years, it was a good decision to left Romania?
For me, it was. It's an individual choice. my career at Ford has been fantastic, and you would think that Ford is a car company and, there's only limited opportunities for an IT professional. But you have to look at it this way. IT is critical to the running of our business. It stems anywhere from real-time systems. It takes less than a minute for us to assemble a car, soup to nuts, all the way to analytics, artificial intelligence, which we've been doing for 40, 50 years. We build, sophisticated simulators to test our vehicles. From the perspective of an IT professional, and this is very rare in the U.S. to have a long career, it's been a wonderful opportunity. So I don't regret that one bit. My wife is also Romanian. She's a doctor. She works in the States, and we have 2 kids that were born in the U.S.
So your life is in the U.S.
In the U.S. In the U.S. Yes, correct.
If you compare Romania in 1990, 1991, when you left Romania, and Romania right now.
A lot of change, and
in a positive or negative way?
Primarily positive. Both, and you can, from an IT perspective, that's one of the things that became most intriguing to me, and I'll talk about it, briefly in our interview. But overall, I think it's, the country's developed tremendously. I think it's a staggered approach. I don't think it's covered the entire spectrum of society, but there's room for improvement. Just looking from the outside, I think Romania has benefited tremendously from being part of the European Union and NATO. It's given a lot of opportunities for integration, and we recognize that from a global perspective.
Okay, right now you are the president of RACC IT.
Mm-hmm.
What means RACC IT?
So RACC stands for the Romanian American Chamber of Commerce. This is a non-for-profit American institution. It's based.
It's an American entity.
Correct. Totally
Okay.
American. Yep.
It's under the U.S. Embassy.
It has
in Bucharest?
nothing to do with anything.
Nothing.
No, this is
So
a
Romanian
American Chamber of Commerce. It's based in New York City. It has chapters throughout the United States, and we are an independent chapter within RACC. So our members can be both from Romania as well as from the U.S. and other countries. Let me tell you a little bit about why we created this. I haven't, Ford, a very big company, IT very important to us. We have very strong relationships with the top IT providers, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, you name them. And it became apparent maybe in the last three to 5 years, the dynamic nature of Romanian IT. It was about the time that UiPath became public in the U.S., and it was a lot of my American counterparts, senior managers at the top IT companies that reached out to me and asked, are you familiar with what's going on in Romania? Do you know anything about this company or that company? And that irked my curiosity, and I was encouraged, challenged by some business leaders in the U.S., American, to try to create an ecosystem, a mechanism to aid Romanian IT companies that are looking to expand to the U.S. So very focused. You look like you want to.
No.
Yeah,
go.
so it's a focused effort, and this is traditionally the roles. It should be the roles of Chamber of Commerce's to give companies, institutions the opportunities to meet each other, to learn of different business opportunities, make contacts, and so forth. And that's, in a sense, the genesis of what we're trying to do.
So everything started with UiPath, the listing of UiPath.
In some ways, if you step back, there's 3 success stories that I like to talk about from a Romanian IT perspective in the U.S. UiPath is the dominant one, and we've gotten a lot of support and encouragement from the executive team in the U.S. There's also a company you may have heard of, Bitdefender. And then the third one, really interesting one out of San Francisco, it's called Databricks.
Yeah.
Ioan Stoica, who's a fellow alumni of mine from...
Do you know him?
Yes, I do. I know a lot.
You know all the team, the Romanian team in
Not all.
Databricks?
I know a lot of senior executives at all the companies.
Not all the team.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, I've met him in San Francisco. A wonderful gentleman, but they have Romanian DNA, so that's why I count Databricks as a significant success story.
What is the purpose of RACC IT? What do you want to do with this organization?
We want to create a framework, an ability, a mechanism by way of which Romanian IT companies can become aware of opportunities in the U.S. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is to provide our U.S. counterparts a portal, a way to have a look inside the dynamic nature of Romanian IT. You never know what opportunities may exist, what interests may exist. We're at the beginning of the journey. I'll say we've been aggressive at this in the last 6 to 9 months. There's a fantastic team of professionals here in Bucharest and throughout Romania that have helped, on a volunteer basis, have helped get this started. We have a board of directors that comprises, business leaders from both the U.S. as well as Romania, and that's going through iterations and change. We've got an advisory council that provides strategic advice to the board, and it's headed by Adrian Zuckerman, the former U.S. ambassador to Romania. So a lot of positive, dynamic energy. We have been running monthly events here in Bucharest, which have grown in terms of interest, size, and participation. And I'm just giving you a little bit of the, what we've been attempting.
I want to know, of course, how it works, this organization, because, a lot of people, a lot of companies here in Romania wants to go outside. Why? They don't know how to do it.
Right. So there are several ways to, and that's a really important point, because one of the things that I think is missing from the perspective of a U.S. manager or business leader is a certain amount of business maturity on the part of Romanian IT companies. Maybe not just that. Doing business in the U.S. is a bit different than doing business in Romania, and you have
in what way?
There's possibly different business rules.
Of course, it's different of figures.
That and expectations and how to conduct yourself or whatnot, and these things are easily learned. There's also certain rules, right, with respect to accounting. You may need to potentially reincorporate or incorporate in the U.S., and we're trying to facilitate that for our members' ability to have access to accounting, legal help in case they want to incorporate there.
Who is responsible to identify the opportunity? You or?
Well, in many ways, it's an ecosystem, right? So there is no triage that's happening. We all try to assist, but at the end of the day, if you join our organization, either as a member or as a sponsor, you get to meet and learn from others. It's not necessarily a selection process, right? So some companies may be more successful than others.
Because the people will come in this organization, but their expectation is that this organization to give them contracts. First of all, to give them contact, right. Okay, to enter in the United States, and the second to give contracts.
Yeah. So the second part is not the role of Chamber of Commerce to give contracts, or it's
to facilitate.
To facilitate is different, and it gives you let's say you have a company, it gives you the opportunity to understand potentially what business partners may exist in the U.S. and how you can approach them. But there is no guarantee. There's no guarantee for any company in the U.S. of a contract or a signed deal. You have to work for that. But what was missing, and this is the void that we're trying to help, was an ability for companies to learn from each other and to establish contacts. And this is potentially where, say, Romania is a bit at a disadvantage to other countries and other diasporas in the United States, which are more structured and more willing to assist as part of the business process.
If you look at all the diaspora, who is the most advanced diaspora in the United States? You mentioned that Romania is not there.
Advanced from an IT perspective?
IT or commerce or investment and so on?
I'll just stick to IT. I think India and China are probably the most dominant.
Of course, China, from the former communist country?
Certainly, there's a lot
Or
of...
in IT?
In IT, there's a lot of very strong IT professionals from Russia and the former Soviet Union. I'll give you just an example. There's, I'm told, nearly 20,000 masters and PhDs that work in the States from the former Soviet Union. So that is quite impressive. A lot. And even Ukraine, I think even Poland. So that was one of the impetus to help organize this structure.
Look, in a realistic way, do you think it's a way for the Romanian IT company, I mean entrepreneurial company, to enter in the United States? Because it's the market is huge, but it's very, very difficult to enter.
It's very difficult,
need contact,
right? And it's very competitive. So there is, like I said, there's no guarantee, but this gives you an ability to learn from others. So, hey, I have a product or I have a service. Maybe you can talk to another Romanian company and try to understand what they went through, what legal hurdles they had to overcome in terms of incorporation or accounting and so forth, and potentially what are some of the ecosystems that pertain to that. And I want to make a quick parenthesis just so you understand how we're structuring this. We've defined within our organization, within our chapter, RACC IT, 6 distinct pillars, 6 distinct areas of interest, which in a sense mirror what I think and we think are the dominant trends in IT today. So the first one, for example, is dedicated to data, AI, and cloud transformation. The second one to cybersecurity and cyber defense. Third one to fintech. Fourth one to medical IT and biomedical IT. Fifth one, very broad energy, industrials, and infrastructure IT. And then finally, IT services. So each one of these pillars, these verticals, are co-led or will be co-led by both an American anchor, an American company, and potentially a Romanian one. And we've announced some of them today. So, for example, the one that, if you were to ask me what's the most dominant trend in IT today, that we see it's cloud and cloud transformation. Very large global companies, whether they're Ford or others, are going through this journey of moving a lot of compute from on-prem to the cloud. It's both transformational as well as very difficult to do.
Very difficult to do?
Absolutely, because you're no longer going to have your in the world to come, your laptop or your servers that you have here on-prem. All this infrastructure will be in the cloud. So think of what that implies in terms of how you do business, in terms of how you manage your software and so forth. So, this is not for very large global enterprises. It's a difficult journey. It's one that in many ways will redefine the whole business caliber.
Of course, but we don't have, let's say, a company like Ford in terms of turnover and so on. Okay. How many companies, Romanian IT companies, do you think will join this organization?
It's an interesting...
It will be 100,000? Will be...
I don't know. In the last year, and again, I've been very fortunate because part of the team, especially here in Romania as well as in the States, have been very enthusiastic about this. So I'll give you a couple of points so you can keep in your mind. I think in the last maybe year, I've personally talked to over 100 Romanian IT companies.
You personally talk? Or the organization?
No, personally.
Okay, personal, okay.
And there are some that I think are going to be really exciting. I'm not going to name names because it wouldn't be polite. But another point of reference, since we started this effort, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, where we had, within our scope, maybe 5, 8, 10 companies, our internal database now has over 600. Both U.S.
600.
Correct.
Okay.
Both U.S. Now, these aren't all members or whatnot, but these are interested parties from Romania, from the U.S., and it may include non-governmental organization, large organizations. So there is quite a good deal of interest, and I think if we nurture it, if we support it, everybody will benefit.
Okay. If you look at the Romanian IT company and compare what are the needs in United States in IT ecosystem, where we are?
You know, I think
because all the people mention that the Romanian company are low-cost company, okay?
Not necessarily.
In loan IT, okay? And if you want to have a better salary, to obtain a better salary, a better service, you come here in Romania or Ukraine or name it.
See, it's not just about low-cost sourcing. It's also about talent and ideas. And I think that's the high value add. So I think this is something that, we try to nurture. We'll try to nurture, obviously, and it's not just about Romania. Global companies are distributing their workforce worldwide to try to get the best value proposition. So it's not always about low-cost sourcing. I'm more interested in developing those or helping those companies that have ideas, and that we think those ideas will resonate with. And when I say U.S. marketplace, we think of it globally.
You buy IT services. You mentioned you work with Google, Microsoft, and so on. Until now,
But those are not IT services. Those are global IT companies.
Global, okay. But you buy something from them.
Correct.
Until now, did you buy something from Romanian IT company? Did you
You're saying at Ford or in general?
Yeah, no, Ford.
I wouldn't want to go too much into detail.
Okay.
You understand?
Second, do you think with this organization, Romanian company can enter in the United States market?
I think some will, yes, and that's why we're doing it, and that's why I'm encouraged. Like I said, we're doing monthly events here in Bucharest. We've started physical events. I invite you to join at one of our next sessions. I won't be here, but the team will be here.
Okay.
We've also started webinar series, and by the way, all our events have global participation. We're looking to also potentially do a few events in the U.S., either through the mediation of RACC, the parent organization, or others. So, to answer your question, I do think there's an opportunity for a number of Romanian IT companies to penetrate the U.S. market, and for some of them to be quite successful.
Okay, you working with Ford, okay, and let's say in IT section, IT department.
Okay.
Why you do that?
You lost me there. What do you mean? Why do I do that?
Yeah, with RACC.
Why do I do this?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to help, and I was sort of challenged by my American counterparts, and then started.
You mentioned that it started with UiPath when.
No. But
okay.
You asked the question about how strong are different diasporas, and maybe it's sort of a personal challenge to me. So this has nothing to do with Ford, but it's a personal challenge to help or assist Romanian IT companies. So it's because I think there is potential there.
Okay, how come that you didn't start your own company in IT sector? Because
who says I didn't? But we'll just.
Do you start and do you have
no, but I have
some idea or some participation?
I have a long career, so I've done different things throughout my career.
Okay, because your qualification is so high, and all the people who wants to go in the United States dream to have their own company, to list in the stock exchange, and to be a billionaire.
Those are lofty goals. I think you need to calibrate those goals depending on what you have to offer, the competition, and so forth. Some may be successful, some may be less successful, but it's still an exciting journey and worth doing. And I come back to what I said throughout our interview. I think IT globally is going through a transformational change through the advent of the cloud, and I think companies worldwide are going to need to rethink the way they develop and deliver IT solutions. Whereas
In what way? Because the cloud is you transfer your data and operation from the laptop, from the PC, in air,
and that's
in cloud.
then that's a misconception. It's not just about transferring your data. You need to make sure that the application itself, wherever it's hosted, will be able to connect to that data. So you may have to rewrite your application or your code. That's one thing. There's other things, but thanks for sort of opening the Pandora's box, because it's an important point. You need to make sure that your data is secure. The communication between wherever your application sits and where your data is works, right? When things are on-prem and you can control them, it's different than when things are distributed. But then they become even more interesting with respect to, okay, so now your data is quote-unquote in the cloud. So how do you take advantage of that data? How do you introduce, for example, artificial intelligence to make better sense of your data and so forth? And how do you control that to the benefit of your company? And then from the perspective of the software company that creates a product, whereas 5 years ago, that product would have been installed like you have, and I'm pointing to some of the servers you have in this room. Now the product is maybe going to be offered and sold as part of a marketplace, which exists in the cloud, so it's a different paradigm. And there are Romanian companies, and you can, if you're interested, look, that are actually have made this trend, and they're offering their products on the three marketplaces, Google, Microsoft, and AWS. So, it's going to be an interesting and challenging journey.
You mentioned artificial intelligence. What do you think will be the impact? Let's say impact in
I think it's going to
be economy, because until now it's discussion is PowerPoint, but in terms of execution the operation are very simple.
I think the impact is going to be tremendous, not just in the economy.
In what way? Will destroy
How long is this interview going to be? Because I could talk for hours, and you don't want me to.
We have only 5 minutes.
Okay, because I think it's going to be extremely impactful, because it's not just about data. It's about data and intelligence built in. So I'll give you a simple example, and I'm not selling Google here, but when you do a search against the Google taskbar, you're actually going against a database that Google's managing since they went public. And there's intelligence built in with respect to how the results are being given to you, provided to you. When you think of it from the perspective of AI and data together, you're going to be bringing in large volumes of data that's specific to your company, to the way you do business. But embedded in that is your business knowledge, your rules. So the next step, which companies are addressing, is how do you train your models, sometimes referred to as large language models, to make sure that your rules, for example, don't build a car with red doors and a green top, these are business rules that you've accumulated throughout your existence. Those rules are now being embedded with the data. It's referred to as training and grounding your models. The next step is what's commonly referred to as generative AI. Sometimes it used to be, so the mathematical apparatus has been around for a long time. It used to be called deep learning, but generative AI, you ask a question from your data after you've trained it, it answers that, and then it says, oh, by the way, Cristi, did you think of it this way? Or, hey, how about looking at building your product this way? And this now opens a whole new domain.
What do you think about the evolution of Romanian school? You graduate Automatica. Automatica at that time was
outstanding.
Outstanding.
It's hard for me to provide because I haven't been up to date, but the Romanian education system is the reason for my career. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
Well-grounded, very structured.
You were very good at mathematics?
I'd like to think so. My kids, I try to work with my kids, and they sometimes regret my affinity for math. But there were my colleagues, some of them were much better than I was, so international Olympic winners and whatnot, and they all work, a lot of them in the States. So we had a very strong, very, very strong educational system. I'd like to think that continues, but I'm not up to date on where things are.
Do you like to become, let's say, after you're retired, to become a professor in Polytechnica?
No, but I have
to
taught...
transfer some knowledge to other people, Romanian people?
That's a bit of a stretch, but aside from being a senior manager at Ford for about 20-some years, I have taught... I teach only one class, the graduate database class, initially at Wayne State University in Detroit, now University of Michigan, which is a top school in the U.S. So I've always tried to keep in contact with academia, and I've got advanced degrees from the States also.
Okay, so the next step for RACC IT?
Several
this year.
We are continuing our monthly events.
Monthly events will be in person or only webinar?
Both. So monthly events are in person, and I encourage you and your team to attend. And they're geared towards the pillars that I mentioned, so we want to keep them focused. Last night we did. I thought it was an exceptional event. It was around ESG, sustainability, and energy. We had participants from both the U.S. as well as Romania talking about IT solutions in that space. We're expanding our webinar series. We're looking at podcasts. And probably in 2025, I mentioned we're looking at actually doing events for our members in the U.S.
Okay. So, thank you very much. Mulțumesc frumos, Bogdan, pentru prezența ta aici. Succes cu RACC IT. Sperăm să fie o poartă de intrare pentru companiile IT românești, să intre pe piața Statelor Unite. Luăm minutul Business Magazine, ne întoarcem în partea a doua, o discuție despre ce înseamnă pentru piața românească și economia românească adoptarea semnăturii electronice, ce se întâmplă pe piața IT din România. În câteva minute va veni Eduard Crețescu, președintele ANI și CEO al Regista.
Un business de peste 1 miliard de euro. Aceasta este cifra cheie a anunților din România. De ce pornește meniul de la 100 de euro în capitală? Când au ajuns sarmalele la preț de fine dining? De ce se fac credite pentru 5 nunți sau mai multe? Când s-a transformat plicul în POS instalat pe telefon ca invitații să plătească cu cardul, criptomonede sau NFT-uri? Sunt câteva întrebări la care Business Magazine va răspunde. Schimbările se produc cu viteză tot mai mare în toate domeniile, iar orizontul de timp în care lucrurile vor fi diferite în mod radical este de ordinul câtorva ani. Digitalizarea și inteligența artificială modelează deja afaceri, slujbe, moduri de gândire. În acest univers în permanență mișcare, sustenabilitatea și educația pot juca un rol esențial. Care sunt cele mai bune alegeri? Cum poate fi creat un viitor prosper? Ce preț trebuie plătit și de către cine? Plusurile de 7,5% în 2024 și tot atât anul trecut vor duce afacerile Floria peste pragul de 11,5 milioane de lei până la final de an. Creșterile sunt alimentate de extinderea ofertei cu produse complementare, creșterea numărului de parteneri, dar și lansarea de noi servicii. Vrei să testezi un produs electronic pe o perioadă mai lungă înainte de a-l cumpăra sau vrei pur și simplu să-l închiriezi ca să-l poți schimba cu ușurință atunci când apare un model mai nou? Fie că este vorba de un televizor, telefon mobil, tabletă, laptop, consolă de jocuri, videoproiector sau aparat foto profesional, ai acum posibilitatea să le închiriezi, inclusiv din rentbox-uri amplasate în centre comerciale, startup-ul local Telerenta fiind în plină dezvoltare a rețelei sale de automate pentru închiriat la nivelul întregii țări. Citiți despre toate aceste subiecte, dar și despre multe altele în cel mai nou număr al Business Magazine.